and welcome to Sundays in Song. This week we are particularly excited to share with you our Lessons and Carols countdown, including 10 of the compositions which will be featured in this Sunday's Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols at St. David's Episcopal Church. This is a particularly special service this year, as we celebrate the centenary of this service's founding in 1918 at King's College, Cambridge. All of the works which you'll be able to hear this week at St. David's share some connection to the history of this very special liturgy and to King's College. Our invitatory carol this year is Jesus Christ, the Apple Tree by Elizabeth Poston. Though not commissioned by Kings, this work has a long history with the Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols, frequently appearing as one of the carols sung by the choir. The text is an 18th century poem, presumably written by one Reverend Richard Hutchins. It plays with the image of Christ as a life-giving tree, which will resonate with one of the readings from Genesis, as well as with our next carol. The next carol sung by the choir is Boris Ord's Adam lay abounden. This setting was one of the very first works composed specifically for the Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols at King's. Ord was the director of music at King's from 1929 to 1957. The text resonates with the story of Adam and Eve and sets in motion the drama that is played out in the course of the service. Next we'll hear John Tavener's The Lamb, a setting of the poem by William Blake. Though Tavener's composition received its premiere at Westminster Abbey in 1982, it was given its second performance only a few days later at that year's Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols at King's. Following the lesson, in which the prophet Micah foretells that Bethlehem will be glorified, we offer Richard Costin's The Flight. Written for the 2015 Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols, it sets the poetry of George Surtees. Both poetry and music respond to the refugee crisis of the same year, and which is an ongoing issue in the world today. Surtees himself emigrated from Hungary to England with his parents, who themselves were survivors of concentration and labor camps. The work's refrain, which references Bethlehem as a place of rest, reminds us of one of the important messages of this season, which is to care for the least among us and to be a welcoming force for Christ's love in the world. After the lesson in which the Virgin Mary is greeted by her sister Elizabeth, we hear Arvo Pärt's Bogorodice Dievo, a setting in Church Slavonic of the Hail Mary text. This composition, which is in Pärt's tintinnabuli or bell-like style, was commissioned for the Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols in 1990. Next, we'll hear the luscious setting of What Sweeter Music Can We Bring by John Rutter. Commissioned by King's in 1987, this work is a setting of a poem by 17th century Cambridge graduate Robert Herrick. Herrick was influenced by dramatist Ben Jonson and became a vicar, later in life. Following the 9th lesson, we hear the first 3 verses of O Come, All Ye Faithful. We'll hear more verses when we actually arrive at Christmas Eve, including the famous descant by former Director of Music at King's, David Wilcox. His descant on Of the Father's Love Begotten will also be heard earlier in this service. At the offertory, we pay homage to Stephen Cleobury, the current Director of Music at King's, in the offering of Joy's 7, Cleobury's arrangement of an English counting carol. Such carols had a pedagogical as well as entertainment value, teaching some of the basic biblical narratives in an easily remembered form. Here, each aspect of Christ's birth, life, and deeds are seen through the eyes of his mother Mary as individual joys. At communion, we hear Nicholas Maugh's Suite Jesu, a setting of an anonymous 13th century carol text that was commissioned in 1992 for the Lessons and Carols service. Maugh had a long association with kings. His motet, One Foot in Eden Still, I Stand, was also commissioned by King's and was recently performed at St. David's in May. Maugh also taught at the Peabody Conservatory, where I had the honor of studying with him in 2006 and 2007. Our service ends with an organ voluntary, beginning with Bach's setting of the German Christmas song In Dulce Jubilo, or In Sweet Joy, sometimes known by its modern text, Good Christian Friends Rejoice. Traditionally, this is the first piece in the organ voluntary that closes the King's festival each year. It is then followed by a virtuosic organ work. This year, I'll be offering Bach's Toccata in F major, a difficult and dancing composition that will send us out joyfully into the world. And there you have it. Here are 10 pieces of music that you'll hear offered at our festival of 9 lessons and carols this Sunday. And there's even more that we don't have time to talk about here. So I hope you can join us this Sunday, December 16th at 10 a.m. to hear our centennial celebration of the Lessons and Carols service. For Sundays in Song, I'm Doug Buchanan, and I look forward to singing with you.